Hi guys, I'm going to start the vapor blasting video off with the air supply that you're going to need for this. If the unit that you're using is too small, you're not going to be able to vapor blast effectively. It will be a source of frustration, as it was for me when I started with this. What I tried to use is a small little 20-gallon speed air with a 2 horsepower pump, and this was totally inadequate for the air requirements of the vapor blasting unit. Using the recommendation that I got from Vapor Honing Technologies, they talk about several compressors and different kinds of pumps. The one that I went with was the Ingersoll Rand 60-gallon compressor with the 5 horsepower pump. This is the SS5 pump. It more than has the capacity to power the vapor blasting unit as well as charge the tank simultaneously. As far as plumbing goes, the unit will come with this ball valve, but will not bring any fittings. What I'm using is a 1/2-inch PEX T, and these two ends over here are PEX barbed ends, and they're 1/2 inch with some homemade stainless steel clamps. If you guys are interested in learning how to make these homemade clamps and creating the tool to make them, you can check out one of my other videos. From here, one of my sides goes over to a 3/8 inch quick disconnect that then jumps over to my air supply line for my air tools. You can see right there, so that's for my air tools. And then the other side supplies my vapor blasting cabinet. So I got it going up and around, down the wall, and into the regulator. On the regulator, what I'm doing is the end of the hose, I cut off the connector that it came with, and I'm using a 90-degree 1/2 inch elbow to PEX barbed. So this side under the clamp is the barbed side, and it's a PEX barbed clamp. They're a little bit less expensive than the standard barbed. And then a 1/2 inch into the air regulator. From there it goes to a 1/2 inch to PEX barb, again 1/2 inch. And this is going to go down on the floor, and I'm eventually going to put a foot pedal here to control my air on and off. That's currently on order. It's coming from Eastwood, but it hasn't arrived yet. Here's a shot of the front. So this is a Harbor Freight air regulator. It's about $22.99. I run the glass beads anywhere from 50 to 60 psi, and that is about as high as you want to go at 60 psi. You don't want to go much higher than that, otherwise you shatter the glass bead, and once a glass bead is shattered, it's going to be less effective at removing contaminants from the surface. I'll do some details on the pump. This pump is a 1100 watt, 16,500 liters per hour, or 4,300 gallons per hour flow rate. It just sits underneath the chute. I chose to use this method instead of trying to mount it inside the cabinet to make it easy to change out the media and clean out the pump. And it works really well. The only thing that I would recommend, and what I'm probably going to do, is I'm going to pick up some household rubber gloves that you would use for household cleaning, maybe a large glove. Cut the hand part off the glove and use the the sleeve around this collar, and then just let the open side face down into the bucket off to the side. That way the media can come down without splashing outside of the bucket. I want to take a minute to talk about the importance of the vacuum system. Many of the YouTube videos out there don't address the vacuum system. When you purchase this cabinet from Harbor Freight, they designate this port as the vacuum side. The problem with using this port is it's exposed directly to what's going on inside the cabinet. If you're sandblasting or vapor blasting, all that happens by using the vacuum on this side is all the media gets sucked out through that hole. And that's no good. You don't want your media and water clogging up the filter on your vacuum cleaner. Tacoma Company has created a really awesome kit. It includes everything that you need to convert these cabinets. And what they use is a special cover on the inside to keep water and media from coming out of this hole once you convert it to an intake port, and a block-off plate for the top of the cabinet, and I'll show you that when I get to the inside of the cabinet, to keep the vacuum from sucking media and water out of the top of the unit. What they suggest that you do is use the air intake port, which is located here, as the vacuum port. It comes with a cover that's a round push-on type of lid that pushes into this grommet that's on the back of the unit. All I did is cut out a round hole big enough to push the end of the vacuum hose into, and then just replace the cover. Just put it back on there. What I'm using for a vacuum is a 16-gallon Craftsman. It's about a 6.5 horsepower unit. And this is plenty of suction for vapor blasting. The reason that the vacuum is important is as you're sand blasting or vapor blasting, a mist or cloud will develop inside the unit that greatly reduces visibility. And by attaching the vacuum system, it pulls that cloud or mist out of the unit. That way you have very clear visibility to the part that you are working on. Let me move around here to the inside so I can give you more information about what's going on in here. Another thing you're going to want to do is when you unbox this, you'll notice that this cover has a bunch of indentions in it. It has about, I would say maybe about 6 indentions in it. And in each one of these indentions, media and water will collect in there. There's also a ledge. Not sure if you can see that in the video, but there's a ledge there that media and water will also collect on. And every time you open the door, all of it will just fall out onto the floor. What I did, and there's lots of information out there on how to do, is cover up those holes somehow, whether you do it with duct tape or plastic sheet or just fill them in somehow, is use some type of a deflector plate on the bottom. This works really well. It's just a piece of plastic that I picked up from Home Depot, and it just slides right in there, and as I'm vapor blasting, all the media and water just hit the side and roll off back down into the chute. Let's get into the inside here. As I was talking about earlier, that side port that is now an intake port, the Tacoma kit will bring a metal cover that will go over that space to keep water and media from coming out. What I did is I just rigged up a Tupperware container. I cut one side of it off. That's the side that doesn't have the duct tape on it. And I'm using that as the air intake side. It works really well. And as you're vapor blasting while the vacuum is running, cold air comes in from that side port down across a unit, and it pulls that cloud of mist and dust out through this chimney opening down here. It goes all the way up and then out that port on the back. And remember earlier I mentioned that you got to cover that top. The Tacoma kit will bring a metal plate that you can put up there to cover that top space, because that space is very close to the vacuum port on the back, and if it's left open, your media and water will get sucked out through that hole. So you want to cover that hole to make sure that you got this long chimney only drawing in the mist and dust. Otherwise, it's going to pull it directly into the vacuum. But by having this long riser that has to go up, only the air will get pulled out. All the media and water will just stay down at the bottom. It'll just flow back down. Next, I want to talk about the air nozzle and the air supply line. The air nozzle can be picked up on eBay. It's a sandblasting air nozzle. It's about $30. You might be able to find a little bit under $30 possibly. The connector on the bottom is a 5/8 inch barb, and the top is a 1/2 inch barb. It's important for you to know this, because if you have hose that's too small, like I have in my example here, I tried to push a 3/8 inch hose onto that 1/2 inch barb, and it's too small to really fit on there the right way. As I talked about earlier, I plan to upgrade this to a 1/2 inch line and eliminate this valve up here. Currently, I'm controlling the air with this valve. I have to put the gloves on, stick my hands in here, and then turn the valve on and off if I want to turn the air on and off. Another thing that you want to pay attention to is this little thing right here. This is a check valve. And the check valve is important because as your air is flowing this way, you don't want any water to come back into your air supply line. Either if your compressor is not running and blowing air, water will want to come up this way, out this line. You would think it would just come out the nozzle, but it doesn't. It comes out the nozzle and it finds its way up through this hose. And you don't want water and media in your air supply line. What I plan to do with this is eliminate the valve and this valve in here and use the foot pedal valve. I'm going to move the check valve from here to somewhere about here. That way it's not in the way of what I'm working on, and I'm not scratching any of the pieces. Another thing too is I'm going to eliminate all those clamps. That way I don't have any of these clamps in here. I'm just going to use my DIY clamps. They're much cleaner and they won't scratch anything. What's important with all of these systems is to not have a lot of restrictions. You want to make sure that your air doesn't have a lot of things that it has to go through before it gets to the nozzle. The more restrictions you have, the less effective the system is going to be. Same thing with the water supply line. The water supply line, you don't want a whole lot of restrictions or things in the way. Originally, with this cabinet, the way it comes assembled is that they have a fitting over here and another fitting over here that screws together, and that's a big source of restriction, along with leaks. There's a lot of leaks that come from that. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for the cabinet. I think I talked about just about everything. The lighting is another thing. The unit's going to come with a LED bar, just like this little one that's in the back here. But the reason that this is so lit up and it looks so good right now is because I got a big LED here at the top. If I shut the big LED down, you can see how dark it gets in this cabinet. What I'm using for my light is a snap-on shop light that I picked up at Costco. I'll link something similar in the description. That way, if you guys want to do something similar, you can. This is a real simple solution. I could just drop it right there, turn it on, and I got plenty of light on the inside. I can see everything. The pump is a pump I picked up from eBay. It's an 1100 watt pump. It's a dirty water pump or sump pump. I'll zoom in here so you guys can see exactly the one it is. So it'll pump. It's 110 volt, and it'll pump water up as high as 10 meters. And to plumb it, it's pretty simple. The unit comes with this elbow here that has a bunch of different reducers that you can use. And this particular one, I used a looks like a 1 inch. Okay. So what I did with this one is it's a 1 1/4 inch T, and then a 1 1/4 inch to 1 inch reducer down here. Over here, it's a 1 1/4 inch to 3/4 reducer. And then you really could have the same reducer up here. I don't know why. I think it's maybe because I had one lying around. I had to reduce it and then reduce it again. But you can skip this 1 1/4 to 1 inch and then 1 inch to 3/4 reducer, and you could just go from 1 1/4 to 3/4, which is what this fitting will fit into. And then just a little section of hose here is what we're using. And then if you notice these little clamps, these are the clamps that I made up using the clamp tool. You can check out one of my other videos on how to do that. And I used a little scrap piece of hose. And it's going to a pipe coupler. And I'll link all these part numbers in the description. And the other side of it is over here. So this is the gasket side. So as you can see, I went with this one because it has the least amount of restriction. You don't want a whole lot of restriction on your media flow and your air on these systems. Going back to the pump, this 3/4 inch fitting is 3/4 inch to PEX. And then another little scrap of hose. And this little scrap of hose, all it's going to do is wind around this pump. Winds around, and then it's just simply wire tied down here. And what happens is when the unit turns on, it starts to pull media and fluid up through here, forces it up this elbow into this T. Part of the flow will go around in here and start flowing out this side, which stirs up the media, causing it to mix really well with the water. And then the remaining flow will come up to this tube and go into the blast cabinet. The unit also comes with this float switch. So if the switch is like this, facing with the cord down, then there's a ball inside that is making the contact, allowing the pump to turn on. If you wanted the pump to shut off, you just simply flip it down, the ball falls down. And the reason for this is if you were pumping water out of a space and the water runs all the way down, this thing will be floating on the fluid until it gets to here, and then the ball will fall down and the pump will shut off. That keeps you from damaging the pump. The pump always needs to run in some kind of a fluid. You don't want to run it dry. I chose this particular setup because it's the most convenient. It's easy, it's clean. To change out the media type is very simple, and it fits into a 5-gallon bucket. So here's a 5-gallon bucket. Here's a unit. And what you can see is it just slides right down in there. So that's exactly how it's going to fit. And you would just pour your media in there. In this, I run this about halfway full of water, And for this particular size bucket, it's a 5-gallon bucket. 2.5 gallons of water is about three to 3.5 cups of media is what you would use. And that would be a good ratio. If you want to add a little bit more media, you can. If you want to take a little media out, you also can do that. And that allows for room in case you need to flush it out. Once you're done vapor blasting, you can just simply hose off the inside of the vapor cabinet with water, clean water, and just let it flow down into the bucket. There'll be enough space since you're only keeping it half full. And then any excess water, once all the media settles to the bottom, you can simply just siphon it out of the pump, getting it back down to halfway full of water. All right, let's fill up the bucket. All right, guys, that's halfway full. You can see this is about how much water you want in there. Now I'm gonna put in my 3 cups of media. All right, this is a half cup of media, and what I'm going to use in this particular demonstration is a 100 to 170 grit glass bead media, and I'm going to put in 6 of these. All I do is just right over the water, just drop her in. So I'm going to do 6 of these, and I'll be right back. All right, so that's about how much media you want at the bottom of the bucket. All right, let me go ahead and get this thing positioned underneath the unit, and we'll go ahead and we'll clean up a test piece. There it is, right underneath the chute. And what you can do, I do get a lot of splashing. What I plan to do is use I don't know, a cleaning glove that you would use for household cleaning, and just cut the hand part off and just use the sleeve, wrap the sleeve around this collar here, and just let it hang off to one side. That way the media can flow in there without splashing all over the place. You could also lift the bucket up to get it closer to the chute. If you want to do that, you can do that. That's also an option. All right, I'm gonna just connect up this piece here. All you're doing is, I got my other end here. I'm gonna try to do this one-handed. We'll see if I can do it. All right, there it is, fastened up. I had to screw it this way. All right, let's find a test piece and we'll turn the unit on. This is a EGR valve off of a 2007 Mitsubishi Eclipse. I kind of sort of been playing around with this a little bit here. But you can see it used to come with like this black surface. And I'll drop it in the machine and clean it up for you here in a second. Alright guys, I got the vacuum going. I haven't turned the pump on yet because I wanted you to see how it stirs up the media. So I'm just going to flip this little switch here. See how it stirs up that media? Alright, so now I'm going to start blasting. Alright guys, there you have it. I don't know if you guys can see how clean this piece is. Yeah, that and even on the inside you can kind of sort of see in there. Yeah, this vapor blasting is super cool. I'm blown away by it. I mean, look at the detail. It gets everything. You can see all the little marks in there. To me, it's amazing. I'm gonna blow the part off so it doesn't start rusting because there's no protective coating on it. Here it is, all blown out. So I blew all the water off of it. This part looks like something that you would get OEM. It's perfectly clean. Doesn't even look like it came from a car that had 180,000 miles on it. If you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like the content, and comment on what else you'd like to see.